Welcome to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. In this video, we're going to discuss a way to build the core of a commander deck around Jasmine Boreal of the Seven as its general. Thank you for choosing MTG Burgeoning for your Magic the Gathering content. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and consider becoming a subscriber. Doing so supports the channel and makes you eligible for our various subscriber rewards series. If you would like to support the channel further, then click the link to our Patreon page in the description below. There, you can join our ongoing Pack Wars series as a 1-month supporter or ongoing member. Or try joining Pack Wars for free by commenting on every MTG Burgeoning video in a month. We strive to offer creative rewards through our various Patreon tiers. So if Pack Wars isn't for you, then something else will be. Links to our content and various subscriber rewards series can be found in the description below. Send us an email, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. We are your channel for all things magic. Jasmine Boreal of the Seven is a 2/4 human druid for 1 in Selesnya colors. She can tap to add a green and white mana to our mana pool, but this mana can only be used to cast creature spells with no abilities. Her last ability is even more powerful, as creatures we control without abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. The vision for the core of an EDH deck crafted around Jasmine can be summed up in 2 words: vanilla creatures. We are going to inundate our side of the battlefield with swaths of creatures sans abilities and claim victory over our opponents by defeating them with these boring but unblockable creatures. We begin constructing the core of this build with low-cost creatures that hit the field running and will benefit from Jasmine's unblockable enablement when she's on our side of the battlefield. Isamaru, Hound of Konda, is the gold standard here as a 2/2 for 1 white mana. Sporting a little less toughness but the same power and mana value is Expedition Envoy, Elite Vanguard, Dragon Hunter, and, of course, the iconic Savannah Lions. By taking up our mana investment from 1 to 2, we can include Blade of the Sixth Pride, Devilthorn Fox, Raptor Companion, Oreskos Swiftclaw, Cliffhaven Sellsword, Knight of New Benalia, Savai Sabertooth, Dramaka Warrior, and Prowling Caracal. Each of these creatures can be cast by tapping Jasmine for her mana ability. Also, let's not worry about the paltry toughness of these creatures. Remember, Jasmine will make them unblockable. With a host of 1 and 2 drops already showcased, let's continue crafting the core of this build by adding some bigger creature spells without abilities for the purposes of really making our opponents feel the pain of our unblockable vanilla creatures. Our focus is to utilize an efficient 2-to-1 ratio of combined power and toughness to mana cost. Rumbling Baloth and Ferocious Zang are 4/4s for 2 and 2 green mana. That's a combined 8 power and toughness for 4 mana, which is our 2-to-1 ratio. Armored Wolf Rider is a 4/6 for 3, a green and a white, again featuring our 2-to-1 ratio of combined power and toughness to mana invested. Garrick's Gorehorn is a whopping 7/3 for 4 and a green mana. Colossipede is a 5/5 for 4 and a green mana, while both Hollowhenge Beast and Silverback Ape are 5/5s for 3 and 2 green mana. Kindercatch is a 6/6 for 3 and 3 green, narrowly fitting within the parameters of our mana cost ratio. Vorstclaw tips the scales as a 7/7 for 4 and 2 green, while Primordial Worm is a 7/6 for 4 and 2 green. Nyxborn Colossus is a 6/7 for 3 and 3 green, and Quilled Slagworm is an 8/8 for 4 and 3 green. Ancient Brontodon is a massive 9/9 for 6 and 2 green. We can cast any of these creatures by turn 3 by casting a Mana Rock on turn 1 and Jasmine on turn 2. Lastly, Gigantosaurus is a 10/10 for 5 green mana, and although the white mana provided by Jasmine can't be used to cast the spell, she still ramps out a copy of this dinosaur way ahead of curve. Leatherback Baloth is another creature that Jasmine can't use white mana to cast, but it provides a 3-to-1 combined power and toughness to mana invested, as it's a 4/5 for 3 green mana. So far, we have sculpted the core of this build to include vanilla creatures that benefit from Jasmine's abilities. There is a segment of creature conjuring that benefits from our general's unblockable ability yet to be discussed. Creature tokens. Most creature tokens have no abilities, and Jasmine does not differentiate between token and non-token creatures secondary to her unblockable enablement. With that in mind, let's begin filling the core of this build with token spells. Grand Crescendo creates X/1/1 green and white citizen tokens at instant speed, and includes the bonus of indestructibility until end of turn. Continuing with our instant speed creature token spells, Secure the Wastes creates X/1/1 white warrior tokens. Although it's dependent on our opponent's armies, Call the Coppercoats has the potential of creating a legion of 1/1 white human soldiers. Speaking of our opponent's armies, Azuri's Predation creates a 4/4 green Phyrexian beast creature token for each creature our opponents control, and each of these tokens fights a different one of those creatures. This has the potential of spot removing some of our opponent's creatures. Speaking of removal, Martial Coup doubles as a creature token producer and a board wipe as long as we spend more than 7 mana total to cast it. Lastly, if our opponents plan to cast board wipes, and they will, then we will make them suffer by casting fresh meat at the end of their turn. For each one of our creatures that died, we will create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Let's double our pleasure by doubling the number of creature tokens we create and include classics like Doubling Season, Parallel Lives, and Anointed Procession. At instant speed, Second Harvest doubles the number of creature tokens we control, and for an extra 2 generic mana, Saproling Symbiosis creates a 1/1 green Saproling creature token for each creature we control at any time we could cast an instant. Or we can just pay 3 and 1 green mana and cast it as a sorcery. Continuing our token creature doubling trend, we include Rabble Rousing. Whenever we attack with one or more creatures, we create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. This enchantment's token creating ability is valuable enough to warrant its inclusion here, making its hideaway ability a bonus. Chatterfang Squirrel General creates a 1/1 green squirrel creature token whenever a creature token is created under our control, thereby doubling the number of tokens generated each time we do so. Since our path to victory is through combat and unblockable creatures, let's be sure to make these creatures as monstrously dangerous as possible. Muraganda Petroglyphs was made for this type of build. This enchantment gives creatures with no abilities +2/+2. Note, this also boosts the power and toughnesses of our opponent's creatures, but we'll have more creatures without abilities than they will. Ruxa, Patient Professor, gives creatures we control with no abilities +1/+1, and is a solid fallback option from a combat perspective if Jasmine is otherwise indisposed. Ruxa allows creatures we control with no abilities to deal combat damage as though they weren't blocked. Our creatures still receive combat damage from any blocking creatures, but this is a satisfactory Plan B to Jasmine's Plan A. With enough quest counters on it, Beastmaster Ascension gives all creatures we control +5/+5. As Anthem effects go, the classics of Glorious Anthem and Gaia's Anthem give our creatures +1/+1. For the same amount of mana, Spear of Heliod provides an Anthem effect and acts as a combat deterrent to our opponents, as we can destroy a creature that deals damage to us. Mirari's Wake gives creatures we control +1/+1, and whenever we tap a land for mana, we add 1 mana of any type that land produced. Collective Blessings +3/+3 is equal to 3 traditional anthem effects at a discounted mana value of 3 2 green and a white. Even Dictate of Heliod is underpriced when we consider traditional anthems cost 3 mana. This enchantment costs 5 mana and gives our creatures +2/+2, and it has flash. Although it has an ability, Mere Entity can change the base power and toughness of creatures we control at instant speed. Unnatural Growth doubles the power and toughness of each creature we control at the beginning of every combat and can be considered a win condition. Speaking of win conditions, the underloved and underplayed Scale Up is another win condition in this build. If we overload it, then each of our creatures have base power and toughness of 6/4 until end of turn. With our general on our side of the battlefield, this should equate to good game. Let's complete the core of this build by optimizing and enhancing our aforementioned vanilla creature theme. In order to send these unblockable creatures into combat, we need Jasmine to remain on the battlefield. Since protecting her is a priority, including a copy of Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots will ward off any attempts of spot removing our general. Instant speed spells like Heroic Intervention will protect both our commander and our board. Unbreakable Formation will give creatures we control indestructible until end of turn. This is a perfect response to an opponent's sorcery speed board wipe. Be careful casting this spell during our turn, however. Even if it's only until the end of turn, it gives our creatures an ability and therefore will nullify Jasmine's unblockability enablement. The same can be said for Make a Stand. It has the same mana value and temporary indestructibility, but can be cast after the Declare Blocker step and before the Combat Damage step to provide a nice temporary boost of power of +1/+0 to our creatures. Flawless Maneuver is free to cast if Jasmine is on our side of the battlefield, and is another perfect response to an opponent's sorcery speed board wipe. Since we plan on creating an army of vanilla creatures, we can reap the benefits of their presence by tapping Gaia's Cradle and Itlamok Cradle of the Sun for oodles of green mana, all of which could ridiculously inflate the casting costs of our X creature token spells. Lastly, let's add a couple of alternate win conditions. Chroma's Will is a powerful game-winning backup option if Jasmine is languishing in the command zone. With a plethora of creatures at our disposal, untapping 15 of them and winning the game with Halo Fountain should not be inordinately difficult. This versatile artifact also provides creature token generation and card draw. What's your favorite ice cream? Why, it's vanilla, of course. This video provided a blueprint for building the core of a commander deck around Jasmine Boreal of the Seven as its general. Removal spells, ramp, and the land base can vary from build to build, and also are dependent on metagame preferences and availability. The cards discussed during this video are suggested options for taking advantage of Jasmine's unblockable enabling ability, in addition to providing ways to optimize this theme. Let me know your thoughts about these recommendations in the comments section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic.